Hello everybody, this is Alchemisted, and this is a supplemental to the supplemental. This is a follow-up to the Fleet Ops I just posted. Reading a post by Dan Stahl was put up yesterday, and I want to talk about some of the changes that have happened since we recorded that roundtable. I should clarify, and I clarified this beforehand, but I should clarify it further, that that roundtable happened on launch day. So, yeah. I just want you to keep that in mind whenever you rewatch it. Like, that roundtable happened on launch day, and as I pointed out before that segment, a lot of things have changed since then. They've taken the dilithium that you get from fleet actions and basically cut that in half and put the other half back in STFs, and that relieves some of that pressure there. Basically, it just means you just do normals. Pretty much. Just do normals. Do the occasional infected space elite for the Borg neural processors, and you're good. You'll be able to get dilithium from that, and so that was a good change. Chart Bertrand cluster is now gone as far as dilithium goes. So if you're already max level, Chart the Bertrand cluster, pretty much worthless. It would be nice if it awarded a different kind of currency, but as it is now, Chart the Bertrand cluster, still bad, still not good, or it's still dead. It's still not worth taking at this point, unless you're hoarding expertise for the reputation and for the fleet system, in which case, knock yourself out. Go ahead, take Chart the Betraying Cluster whenever you do explore Strange New Worlds, and you'll be able to knock out that expertise gain, so that you'll be able to continue donating that to fleet and reputation projects as you do. But there was also a post made yesterday which addresses a lot of what we were talking about in that I wanted to go over, because that one, there were a lot of frayed feelings on Season 7 launch day with the suddenness of those changes, and I felt that it may have been a little bit one-sided. You could probably describe it as such. Before I go on, I want to talk further about my feelings towards Daniel Stahl, Al Rivera. As I said there, I don't hate these two. Like it's not personal, you know. I'm not the sort. There are some people, if you read the Star Trek Online forums, there are some people that have quite a personal dislike of these two. And in fact, Dan Stahl in his post says some of you need to learn some manners, though. And fair enough. I will probably lump myself in that category of people who could probably use a little lesson in manners. Again, feelings were frayed, nerves were frayed at that launch. It was a truly staggering decision by I don't know who made that decision, or I don't know who was responsible for that call, but it was a staggeringly bad call to do that. So right away, I'm going to say, I'm going to give a fair hearing, because Dan Stahl made a post yesterday that I'd like to go over, so that this isn't, as I said, as one-sided as it probably turned out being in that round table that I had with those fellows, with Mveculus and those fellows over in the Temporal Directive. So, Daniel Stahl has posted on the forums an update on more changes that are inbound, and I'm going to give you guys the basic cliff notes of this post. So, before they go off on a holiday weekend, this week is Thanksgiving, first up, they're very. He's talking about how they're very proud of the work that they did into Malrihan. Like I said in Fleet Ops, that Fleet Ops was looking at the negatives of Season 7, but I am going to cover the positives of Season 7 as well. So Malrihan is one of those positives. Malrihan is awesome, and they should be proud of what they've done there. there's always something going on. Now he's talking about how there's not everything is sunshine and roses, to put it mildly. So we're gonna go over what he's talking about here. So they're continuing to monitor the dilithium economy, which has declined a bit. Good news if you want to buy Zen with dilithium. Bad news if you want to convert Zen into dilithium. And I remarked that these changes, one of the reasons for these changes is because they want people to stop thinking of dilithium as a currency to buy Zen. But the problem is that was kind of the intent for it for the beginning. It was this endgame time-based currency that you could use to buy ships from the store without having to pay cash money. And even though you weren't paying cash money, the Zen that you bought through dilithium meant that somewhere along the line somebody was paying them for that Zen that they then put up for auction. So they still came out ahead because people are still spending money to put that currency in that economy. So I don't know exactly where they're coming from when they say they don't want dilithium to be considered a currency to buy Zen, when that is something that they have cultivated up until this point. That feels to me like it's right out of nowhere. That feels like mandate. That doesn't excuse it, but it may not. But as I said during that roundtable, that may not be entirely their doing. So continuing, they're still going to be making some adjustments to STFs. They're going to be. They're saying even though we managed to get more dilithium into more players' hands, I don't believe that at all. That's not right. They haven't changed nearly enough. They've taken dilithium out of the game. They've taken ways to acquire it out of the game. So how more dilithium has reached more players' hands? I assume they're talking about putting dilithium in fleet actions, but fleet actions had dailies that gave you dilithium anyways. And we're going to get to those dailies in a moment. So, continuing. Let's see, challenging change, no kidding. First up, they expect to turn the foundry back on today. So, with any hope, the foundry is going to be back on today. So if you want to start running Nagus dailies by the time the patch goes live, which it should already be by the time I'm recording this, then this is good news for you. In fact, I'm probably going to run the Nagus dailies a few times and see if those work. If those will still... Any mission that grants you experience or energy credit should count towards the daily. I believe that's something that's been said. Although that's very questionable, considering that seems to encourage missions that are geared toward violence and combat rather than missions that are dialogue-based. So I don't know what they're doing about that. I hope that's not the case. I also hope they're not putting a timer on Foundry missions, because Foundry missions are great, but sometimes there are ones that are short and sweet, and there are ones that are long and really well drawn out stuff. There are Foundry missions that are basically a story in one act, a play in one act, as what was it called? Hearts and Minds, as Hearts and Minds was. And then there are Foundry missions that are basically the adventures of your ship, the movie, such as Temple of the Pa-Wraiths, for example, City of the Polmarie, those sorts of missions that are really well written. And again, most of those are dialogue. So one hopes that it's either merely an XP or a time requirement. Like, if one of these conditions are met, then one would hope that it'll count. So we shall see. Console missions, though, are out now. Console missions are a thing of the past, unfortunately, because those were a boon to small fleets, as I said during that roundtable. Moving on. They expect to turn the Foundry back on. Foundry editing will remain off until next week at the least, as well as private queues. They're running all of the missions through mission regression testing, and they're testing the editor as well to make sure that the updates don't bork them as bad as they did after Season 6 and Season 4. So the Foundry is available for play. It's not available for editing yet, not until next week or so, it says. Private queues are going to remain off as well, while they try and sync them with the public queues. Speaking of the queues, a little ray of sunshine for people who have been stressing about this, I know I have, since the Season 7 update, is the premature booting out of queues. Like, you just landed in a fleet action and it immediately gives you a leave timer. That should be fixed now. That was in the release notes. So if you love running fleet actions, now you can. There's also a 5-man version of Gorn Minefield, I believe, that is out. Which, all they really needed to do to fix Gorn Minefield was literally just remove half the enemy spawns, because the enemy spawns in there are ridiculous. You know, even in like the uber powerful ships that we are in at the end of the game. You know, ships like the Waglinde, ships capable of chewing through Borg in a matter of seconds, even to them, that fleet action was literally death by 1,000 cuts, because there are enemies everywhere, and if you get into a fight with them, you will aggro even more surrounding enemies, and more, and eventually the whole map will be coming after you, and I do believe they respawn, so it just becomes this never-ending furball that... yeah, it's not fun. So just all they had to do was remove half the enemy spawns, and that mission would have been fine. As it is, I hope the 5-man variant means that the number of enemies and the number of objectives and the layout of the map is slightly more sane. But we'll see later. Getting to the changes. Quite a few of these are very positive changes. So, the reputation system, including the SDFs, are getting some major changes over the next 2 weeks. Here's a rundown of what is going to happen over the next several holodeck updates. So I'm going to read these off to you. First of all is Omega conversion crates can be opened immediately. You will no longer need to achieve Tier 3 in Omega Fleet to open these. Now, at the very start, it was Tier 5. Then they lowered it to Tier 3. Now you can open them whenever. This was a big complaint of people during the conversion of all the SDF currencies, data chips, salvage, tech, and what have you, into one or two currencies. This was a big complaint, is we were locked out of the stuff that we have. This is our stuff. We earned it. We ground for this. We earned it. This is our stuff, and you're saying we can't use it until like 2 months later when we finally max it out. You're going to be able to open that right away and reap the benefits. I would still advise caution, however, in how you use it. Try not to splurge. Because that's for people who are hardcore STFers, that's going to be a large number of assets, and it's probably going to feel really tempting to let loose with it. Try and moderate your use of that stuff until you hit Tier 4, Tier 5, so that you will be able to get the stuff that you really want. The stuff like those Mark 11 Mako sets, the stuff like that Mark 11 adapted Mako set. You know, that sort of stuff. So I would advise caution in how you spend it, but that is certainly a boon. Reputation XP project timers are dropping from 40 hours to 20 hours. This is another big change that is very welcome. Reputation, it's like a day and 15 hours, at least. A day, 16 hours. It's a long, long time. For each one of those reputation projects, and I've been running them constantly since the update. You know, I've been running them constantly, and I'm only nearly at Tier 2 now, and I've been running them every day since Season 7 premiered. So, I am only on the cusp of Tier 2. They take way too long. And one of the reasons why this is so important is because the storyline of Malrihan and the new Romulan people the story is told through missions you only gain access to as you go up in reputation tiers. So that content that we have been starving for this game, that continuation of the game's story. The 2800 was not a continuation of the story. The 2800 takes place during the Cardassian arc. The story literally just ended after A Light in the Dark in the Undine storyline. And now we have this place that is amazing. It's an amazing world, and I hear that they have said that the future ground content will take the shape. Well, this is the shape of things to come as far as ground content, and that could not be... That would be amazing for this game. Yeah, more content like Mulrihan. You know, more story content, more exploration. They've talked about making a space adventure zone, as they like to call them. That content, that incredible stuff is what could make this game really soar. I say again, I said it in the roundtable, and I will say it again, Mulrihan is awesome, and like I said earlier, they should be proud of what they have done, because they've done an amazing job there, but all of the story content we've been starving for is gated on these tiers, and it took so long. You know, I got to tier 1, and it felt like I had like half a mission and a cutscene. The cutscene was awesome, but you know, it didn't feel like the reward for reaching tier 1. The story, in terms of story, you know, it didn't feel like that mission was proportional to the amount of time I waited to play it in the tiers. So the reduction of the time that these projects will take is very, very welcome. You know, having to wait 2 days to play something that while it's got some cool stuff in it, still feels like half a mission. It's well made. It's a well made half of a mission, but it still feels like you're half of a story. You were trying to tell a story, and you only got to tell half of it here. You know, I don't know what they would have done. I don't know if I was like, if I'm like asking for something like that's even like feature episode quality or what have you. But you know, I don't know what they would have done, but you know, with this, it feels like they were trying to tell a story and they only got to tell half of it with this mission, and it just sort of ends. And I didn't really feel that the time that I had invested in getting that reputation tier up had been worth it in terms of the story. The cutscene, again, was fantastic, but the mission was not. The writing was good, but again, very short mission. And these missions are on a 20-hour cooldown, so again, I have to wait 20 hours to play the first half of something they were trying to tell me. Again, weird. Moving on. The project timers are being reduced. This is a fantastic change. This is a very necessary change. I'm glad they're doing this. Next up, all XP reputation projects that reward progress toward your next tier will now grant 240 dilithium on average upon completion. If you complete 4 XP reputation projects a day, you should earn about 960 dilithium per day from it. These are in addition to the marks to dilithium conversion projects. Once you've completed a reputation system, these XP projects will go away, but the marks to dilithium conversion projects will remain. I like this too. They took out ways to get dilithium, and now it seems they're putting ways back in to earn dilithium because they've probably seen how the market is starting to go down. It's taken a serious downturn since the introduction of the changes with Season 7. So I imagine that the entire point of these, and again, part of the whole point of these is to force people to use the reputation system, first of all. Most definitely. They want you to use this reputation system. They want you to use it because they buffed the crap out of all the enemies, and these will give you tons of perks. And this also continues the storyline of the game past A Light in the Dark. So they want you to use this system so that you can get to that story content. And that's fair enough. Fine. Rewarding 240 dilithium. I was fine with the perks that this system offered. The fact that these projects will reward dilithium on completion, that's just gravy for me. But the marks of dilithium conversion projects will remain, so you will be able to continue accruing Romulan marks and Omega marks, and you will be able to convert those to dilithium. Another reason why I want you guys to watch your spending with the stuff that's in your crates. Don't go hog wild just because, oh my god, I can get my stuff again. They're allowing you to open those crates now and use it whenever you want, but I want you guys to be careful with them. Don't blow through them. Don't spend it all in one place. You know, be prudent with your stuff. That's your hard-earned stuff, and I know it wasn't a one-to-one conversion, and everybody was upset about that. I was upset about that. That's why I cashed in all my purples and blues for dilithium, and I'm glad I did that. You know, I feel that was the right call to make. Nobody liked the conversion. I didn't like the conversion here. Nobody liked the conversion to dilithium when it happened. But don't blow through your stuff right away. Hang on to most of it, because you may want it for something later. Moving on. Okay. Reputation projects that convert marks to dilithium are being moved from unlocking at Tier 5 to being available immediately. This allows you to convert Omega marks and Romulan marks to dilithium, similar to how you could trade SDF items for dilithium previously. Again, I want you guys to be careful here. Be careful. I'll use this as an example. Let's say you're part of a fleet and you want to get one of those big shiny fleet ships. Save up your stuff, so you'll be able to convert that to dilithium ore, and you'll be able to save enough to buy yourself a fleet module. Not all of us have the option of dropping $20 for 2,000 Zen to buy 4 fleet modules. We got to be a lot of us have been hit hard by the economy. A lot of us need to be a bit more strategic in how we acquire things in the game. So hang on to your stuff. Don't trade it all immediately. Wait until you need it, basically. Wait until there's something that you just gotta get that you need. So, moving on from that. Loot drops are getting added to STF mobs as well as to bosses. Now, I have heard... This is hearsay, but I heard that they were tweaking it so that things like elite drones would have a chance to drop really awesome loot. And if that's the case, that's awesome. I never really looked to STFs for equipment. I occasionally found something that I could use, but most of the time they just ended up getting chucked in the replicator. But if there's some really, really good stuff, it might be worth a look. It might be worth hanging on to that stuff to see what it is. End of STF loot rolls are returning. These will once again be a chance to earn special rewards at the end of STFs or Romulan mark events. These special rewards will be bonus marks, Borg neural processors, or other items needed for reputation rewards. So the big need greed thing at the end of STFs, that's coming back. Or other items needed for reputation rewards. That's interesting to me. I find the wording of that interesting. What kind of special items needed for reputation rewards? Because all I know so far is that the endgame STF stuff will require marks, neural processors, and dilithium. So what other stuff does that need? Reputation advancement projects, the ones that unlock each tier, are having their timers reduced from 1 hour to 15 minutes. And we are removing dilithium inputs from these tier up projects. Okay. This is a change that I suppose is welcome. They didn't really have to do this because the dilithium input was at most like 1,000. Then again, that's tier 1. So I'm not sure. So perhaps that dilithium scaled up quite a bit. Like it went from like 1,000 to 10,000. I don't know exactly how much we're talking here. It wasn't much to go up in tier. I didn't really like speaking personally, I didn't really have a big problem with how much dilithium it cost me. I was pleasantly surprised by how little it cost, in fact. So I suppose the removal of dilithium from that's fine and dandy. It wasn't really necessary. Likewise, the change from 1 hour to 15 minutes, I just went to do some dailies. That wasn't a big problem. Again, I'll welcome the change, but again, that's not a big, not really. I imagine that was probably an issue for some, though. The amount of commodities needed for Romulan reputation projects is being reduced due to the lack of drops on New Romulus. We will be adding more drops to New Romulus in the future, either through enemy kills or daily missions. Reduced due to the lack of drops on New Romulus. Is there a lack of drops on New Romulus? I haven't noticed. I haven't really noticed. Then again, at the point I'm at, anything I pick up tends to get chucked into the recycler. So I may just be picking stuff up and chucking it in a lot, because I haven't really noticed my inventory growing really cluttered from being on New Romulus. I haven't really noticed my inventory getting stacked full of stuff very much. So all reputations are being changed so that you need to claim the reward upon completion. This puts it in line with how duty officer assignments work, so you can see the rewards you are getting from each project. Okay, this requires a slight explanation. At every tier of the reputation system, if you've ever played the original Deus Ex, you've seen something like this, where whenever you gain a tier, it's like getting an AUG in the old Deus Ex. I just called Deus Ex old. Now I feel old. It's like getting an augment from Deus Ex, the Conspiracy, where what was the PS2 port, the Human Conspiracy? I think, I don't know. But whenever you got an augment in that game, that augment could do one of two things, and you would have to pick which one it did. So when you go up in tier in the reputation system, you get an option to choose one of two perks. And these perks, for example, can be you have like medical nanites in you that regenerate your health constantly, or you can get increased weapon damage. Stuff like that. You could increase your critical chance, or you could increase the amount of your ship's shield capacity. Stuff like that. So, but you have to claim whenever you go up in tier, the project doesn't just resolve. You have to hit the claim button for it to complete, essentially. So I guess that's what they're doing here. They're doing that for all the projects to make them more like the DOF system. Again, that's not a major change. It's really just like, hey stupid, here's what you're getting. And again, fair enough. We expect all of the above changes to be live before December. A few will be live by tomorrow, with the rest live around November 29th. Thank you. I'm going to read off his post now. Thank you for your patience. We realize that players have been asking for many of these changes since Season 7 first started appearing on Tribble. Yeah. We feel much better about making these changes now that we have a week's worth of data on a full shard. There were only 100 or so players on Tribble. That's an answer to Andrew's question. during that roundtable, we during our discussion, his question regarding how many people really were on Tribble during that testing period. And we are able to see how a full server load of players are interacting with the new reputation system. We're confident that the above approach will still achieve our balanced goals while putting more of the fun back in the economy. Our end goal has always been to put more dilithium into the hands of the average player. The above changes should help us get there and put more dilithium back into STFs. Excuse me. Season 7 is just getting started, and we hope that you'll enjoy all the updates that will come with this season. Tomorrow, we are releasing the next Duty Officer pack, which has been specifically tuned to help with Starbase and Embassy construction. Shortly after the winter event will begin around December 16th. 6th, not 16th. I don't know where I got 16th from. Sorry, guys. It's the 6th. Sorry. Last year's Winter Wonderland has been updated to include new missions, a new track, new rewards, a new ship, and plenty of fun that will run through the new year. We will also be running a full month of feature episode replay where all the limited time rewards from all 4 series will be available all month long. So if you've got some new characters that need these special items, December is going to be your chance to catch up. Some of the members of Special Tactics will probably want to take that up. I know of a couple that'll probably be jumping at that chance. In January, we'll be releasing an Andorian ship on the Federation side to be quickly followed by the STO 3-year anniversary event. I'm looking forward to that. The special celebration will be released with a new one-off feature episode. If you were at the Star Trek convention in San Francisco this last weekend, Denise Crosby would have you believe that this episode is going to be all about Tasha Yar and Sayla. We'll see. Anything can happen. The anniversary event will also offer a new special free ship for both Federation and KDF players, much like we gave away the Odyssey during last year's event. Moving into February and March, we expect to have some more events to talk about, and we will begin to start teasing the next season. So there is plenty to look forward to in Season 7, and we thank you for continuing to share your feedback and comments with us. Thank you for both the kudos and the criticism. Although some of you need to learn some manners, I'll raise my hand. I can come off a little too angry sometimes. Again, the roundtable, I believe that was a discussion. I believe that merited uploading even after all the changes had been in place, so that people watching could, people who may not play the game but are watching Rise of the Red Shirt, or even people who play the game, could understand some of the negative sentiment that sprang up around Season 7, as well as hearing from some hardcore STFers and a couple lifetimers about how they were impacted by Season 7. Because I think we had a pretty good balance between silver players and at least one lifetime member. Silver player, a gold player, and at least one lifetimer in there. So, yeah, that was the point. And it may have gotten a little unruly over time. This is true. I will admit to that. I will admit that I get a little too passionate sometimes. I will fully admit to that. Although that is something that's just me. I mean no offense, but that's just me. If you've seen me play like any Resident Evil game, you think I give the Star Trek Online devs shit. If you think I've given them some shit, go watch like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 5. I give just as much shit to so many other things. Okay, the only reason I'm kind of, when I talk about Stowe, I kind of focus on Dan Stahl because when Dan Stahl says something, you thought I was going to say something, didn't you? When he, sometimes when he says things that are bizarre, sometimes he says things that are demonstrably untrue. Sometimes he says things that are historically in complete contrast to things he's said. And sometimes he just says things that make you look, that just like make me tilt my. I have to just kind of tilt my head a little and just like stare at the screen and go, huh? Again, it's not a personal dislike of the man, but he does have a record of going too much on the record, or it's sometimes, you know, he has on occasion attempted to rewrite history. KDF people who are hardcore Klingon players in STO know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. It's not a personal dislike. It's simply like, listen, I know that this is not true. I can prove it. You know, let's go back to the tapes. I mean, at some point, there are some things where there are times, like with the cloaking glitch, where he's tried to rewrite history, and this is after, like, a year back, he or another dev were on Stoked, talking about the same issue, admitting it was a glitch, it was not working as intended, that they would have to touch every map in the game to fix it. There were posts on the forums about how this was a glitch caused by how they changed the way interacts work in, like, Season 2 or Season 3, and, so, yeah. As for Al Rivera can be frustrating. Again, it's not a personal dislike. But I remember back when they were talking about the fleet ship modules and how much they would cost in the C-store, and he went on record, I believe it was Priority 1, he went on record and saying that the ship modules would cost way less than the actual purchasable ship in the store. And this turned out to be true. It also turned out to be the same kind of, from a certain point of view, thing that people have been calling BS on from Obi-Wan Kenobi for decades, because not only it may cost less, but it requires 4 of them. So, for example, to get the Fleet Exploration Cruiser retrofit, it costs the exact same number. It costs the exact same amount that it is to purchase it from the C-store. It's the same amount, because I need 4 of them. And I need 4 of them because the veteran retrofit that I acquired way back in 2010 doesn't count as owning it, apparently. So, I don't have, again, like with Dan Stahl, I don't have a personal dislike of Gecko. He's just super frustrating. Moving forward, the anniversary event. Moving into February and March, we'll be teasing the next season. So there's plenty to look forward to in Season 7, and we thank you for continuing to share your feedback and comments with us. Thank you for by the way, there's a typo there. Thank you for both the kudos and the criticism. The criticism. Yeah. Although some of you need to learn some manners. We get better with every season, and we have you to thank for that. We do listen, and while we don't always immediately react, we do deliberate and make changes based on ideas and feedback you submit. The QA team is still crunching through all of your bug reports, and we expect to have major issues ironed out soon. MMOs are wonderful because everything can change, and there is almost always a way to improve things. We will continue to grow and evolve. Keep an eye on the patch notes for when the above changes will hit holodeck, and thank you for making STO awesome. So, as I said before, I intend to go over the positives of Malrihan fairly soon. I'm thinking like the next Rise of the Red Shirt, or if not the next Rise of the Red Shirt, the next Fleet Ops. I'll be wandering around Malrihan as I was wandering around Nukara with Imbeculus in episode 0 of Fleet Ops. So stay tuned for that. That's probably coming this weekend. If it's not in Rise of the Red Shirt, it will be alongside Rise of the Red Shirt. The next Rise of the Red Shirt is going to be Taurus, and I will see you guys there on Sunday. So until then, enjoy Malrihan. Enjoy to the Tau Dewa sector block. It is It is all that and a bag of chips. Delicious chips, yes. I have no idea where that came from or where I was going with that. Taldewa is super awesome. So is Malrihan. Malrihan is what all the cool kids are calling it. So, call it Malrihan. No, don't call it New Romulus. Don't call it New Romulus. It's Malrihan. It's Malrihan. Use its proper name. Malrihan. It's a Rihansu reference. It's awesome. So yeah, until then, this has been a supplemental audio log to Fleet Ops Episode 3, and I will see you guys later. So later.